Good afternoon, my name is Steve Davis and I am the host for Palmdale Presents. And welcome to the initial pilot for Palmdale Presents, a local community showcase geared towards giving a relevant voice to relevant topics here in the Antelope Valley at large. My first guest today is a gentleman that is a local Antelope Valley resident, and believe it or not, his name is Actor Jones. Our second guest is a special favorite of mine, one because she also happens to be my wife and an awesome Antelope Valley resident, Miss Barbara Lyra Davis. Our next guest is a personal favorite as well. This gentleman is a personal friend of mine and an awesome businessman, representing the brand AV Nice, Mr. Chris Spiker. And finally, but far from least, this young man represents the Antelope Valley youth here at this panel, a gentleman by the name of David Lyra. This week's topic will be on domestic terrorism. We have to take a commercial break, but don't go away.
At Anointing Exposure, we do everything under the sun, from braided updos to weaves with an invisible part. We cater to you. Let our stylist Tina, Thais, Kai, our owner stylist Yvonne do your do with style, sophistication, and care. Monday through Wednesday, we have special prices on weaves, and if you refer 3 friends, you get a free hairdo. Call or come in to find out what's going on with the latest in hair color, cuts, and care. Anointing Exposure is located at 44915 10th Street West in Lancaster, or call us at 661-874-9137.
That's right, it's here, it's new, it's now, the Isaiah Thornton Show, a new way to show worship and praise in the Antelope Valley. It's a talk show unlike any other, touching upon topics and subjects from today's headlines that concern you and your loved ones, with lively guests, praise dancing. So come worship, come praise, and come see all the excitement on the Isaiah Thornton Show. Coming to Time Warner Channel 165, YouTube, and other social media outlets. So stay tuned and watch the Isaiah Thornton Show. Why sit around just watching movies or TV shows when you could be making or starring in them? Get behind or in front of the camera and turn your passion into a profession with the help of the Cavanaugh Entertainment Group and their hands-on programs in digital video, TV, and film productions. They can teach you about this exciting industry. You can acquire skills in production, camera operation, acting on camera, set lighting, video editing, and so much more. For a tour of the studio or to get more information, call or email the Cavanaugh Entertainment Group.
Baby, take control now. We can't even slow down. We don't have to go a while. Welcome to my house. Play that music to my house. What? Welcome to my house. It's my house.
So let's open up with domestic terrorism. Is violence indeed violence becoming the new trend, the new method, the new means of action to affect change?
Actually, in my book, I'm not a violent person, but we have to have it. Because if you don't have it, there is some people in this world, the old men, I don't understand nothing unless you busting a tooth out my mouth or not and putting a black eye on me.
But in terms of using violence as the immediate tool to affect change, is that always the most helpful? Even though it may always be the most accessible and readily available option, is it always the most helpful?
It's the person. It's the person in the situation at the time. I was raised whereas if you don't do right, you're gonna get a spanking. That's as kids will grow up, that's what we grow up with. I don't think there's anybody on the face of this earth that had more spankings than me. I was just a devilish kid, you feel me? So I knew that the only thing that was going to stop me Mom's got to whoop my butt. Domestic violence.
But see, but that's a negative cycle because you just said that you were, maybe at your house, you were spanked and that's how they approached you, and now that's what you know to approach people. But that could be negative because there's people that's all they know. So when they have children, they need that control and they need to show it by violence and hitting them. And then the kids are going to do the same thing when they grow up to their children. And it's sad because they won't even understand why they're like that. They think that's normal and that's correct and that's all they know.
And it leads me to this second question, is what does that say? What does that say about our ability individually and collectively as a community to be able to resolve conflict? Because can I resolve conflict without resorting to violence?
Yes, I did it the other night. I had a guy get shot in front of me less than 20 feet away. Shot 3 times. The guy walks up to me first. He was going to shoot me. I knew it. But the reason why he didn't, because over the years as I got older, I understood if you really calm with somebody and look them in the eyes and smile at them, most of the times it throws them off. And that's exactly what happened. I threw him off with what was on his mind, so he went on to the next person and shot him instead of me.
Hey, thank you so much for watching. We'll be right back.
At Anointing Exposure, we do everything under the sun, from braided updos to weaves with an invisible part. We cater to you. Let our stylist Tina, Thais, Kai, our owner stylist Yvonne do your due with style, sophistication, and care. Monday through Wednesday, we have special prices on weaves, and if you refer 3 friends, you get a free hairdo. Call or come in to find out what's going on with the latest in hair color, cuts, and care. Anointing Exposure is located at 44915 10th Street West in Lancaster, or call us at 661-874-9137.
That's right, it's here, it's new, it's now, the Isaiah Thornton Show, a new way to show worship and praise in the Antelope Valley. It's a talk show unlike any other, touching upon topics and subjects from today's headlines that concern you and your loved ones, with lively guests, praise dancing. So come worship, come praise, and come see all the excitement on the Isaiah Thornton Show. Coming to Time Warner Channel 165, YouTube, and other social media outlets. So stay tuned and watch the Isaiah Thornton Show. Why sit around just watching movies or TV shows when you could be making or starring in them? Get behind or in front of the camera and turn your passion into a profession with the help of the Kavanaugh Entertainment Group and their hands-on programs in digital video, TV, and film productions. They can teach you about this exciting industry. You can acquire skills in production, camera operation, acting on camera, set lighting, video editing, and so much more. For a tour of the studio or to get more information, call or email the Kavanaugh Entertainment Group.
Now, I want to go back briefly to when you described how someone wanted to shoot you and your response being not aggressive deviated from you being shot.
It's the natural response.
True, but you look at, for instance, the recent tragedy that happened in San Bernardino.
The scene again just across the bridge back there. Situation from what we can gather right now, 1 to 3 men armed with rifles entered the building. Multiple casualties at this point. We believe it to be one of the buildings across the way there. You can see it off to the right-hand side.
The basic details was that a small group of individuals went to an office space and shot people out of a sense of disgruntlement. Right now, what that disgruntlement was, there's hot topics on the news, right? But ultimately, 2 people went somewhere in an office space and shot some people because they were upset. Now, my question again is, we've become so used to when we become uncomfortable, we disconnect through violent means. Now, that violent means can be passive-aggressive, because violence doesn't always have to come in the form of me hitting you in the face. Me not acknowledging you as my friend is violence. Me ignoring your phone call, me ignoring you personally, dismissing you. Because so many people are self-aware They're so aware of their feelings, they're so aware of their opinions when they encounter something that's contrary to that, it's offensive. And that offense creates anger and hostility and frustration. And there comes in an opportunity for that violent reaction. Now remember, violence doesn't always have to be in the form of a gun or a knife or a hit. Violence can be in the form of disrespect, you know? So again, is violence the only means to affect change? And when we say violence, it's not just in the form of someone being shot or stabbed. You know, this young man's in school, you know? You see instances of violence and schoolyard bullying and people picking on people. You know, that is a violent response, you know, a violent act.
But see, kids, like the younger people, you're trained to just label them as bully and shut down and just don't want nothing to do with them. You won't right away think, oh, well, maybe they're going through something at home.
Right.
Maybe it's coming from their parents,
Right.
because society tells you, well, just label him bully
Right.
and just ignore him.
I'm sorry.
You got to call the bullies out.
I'm a boy. I was the bully. There's nothing on my mind but I want what I want. Regardless if it's violent or not, I want what I want.
No matter how many spankings you got.
It don't make a difference how many spankings. Because you got to remember, I didn't realize, it took me 40-something years to realize this. I can only say that I'm a man if I do the things that a man do. And that's to do right. You feel me? Everything before before I realized that.
So how can we speed that process up? How can the community stop those bullies and turn them around?
Joke?
No, serious.
Serious?
Yes, sir.
Put everybody in jail.
Don't go away. We'll be right back. Hello, Palmdale. My name is Stephen Davis, and I wanted to share a word, specifics to the community engagement in municipal process. How important it is for us to register to vote, to know how to register to vote, and to show up on election day to make that registration count and make it a meaningful standard. You see, when you do not vote, you do not give opportunity for candidates that may be interested in representing your needs to have the leverage, the influence, and the backing to be a reality. When you don't vote, somebody else will, and their interests may not be yours. And so it's imperative for us to understand the importance of that process and how it directly affects our homes, our schools, the jobs and resources that are accessible and not accessible. We are a dynamic community. We're different, and our needs are not all the same. And for that reason, it is important for the advocacy here in Palmdale to be diverse, not just in look, not just in word, but in truth. And for us to represent each interest as passionate and as zealously as we would do our own.
How can the community stop those bullies and turn them around?
Joke?
No, serious.
Serious?
Yes, sir.
Put everybody in jail.
Now, this is interesting. You would mention that as a solution, because there are a segment in community, in any community, that would say, you know what? Any ICE or anybody that is not in compliance to what is lawful, right, needs to be in jail.
That's true.
Right.
And I'm going to tell you why that's true. Because if you're not going to respect somebody, you're going to go someplace where you're going to respect somebody. You feel me? I didn't listen to my mom and dad. I did over 20-something years in prison. I listened to my mom and dad. I've been out a whole year, Steve.
Yes, sir.
I've been out a year.
Yes, sir.
I haven't been out a year straight.
That's amazing.
Since I was 13.
That is, and what did you do different? What did you do different?
Honestly?
Yes, sir.
I listened to my sister and I started using drugs.
That's amazing.
That was my problem.
Now, not listening and drug abuse, would you say contributed to a violent response to conflict for you personally?
Drug use for me, period, everything in my mind is violent. Everything. If you're not talking cash, I don't want to hear it. If you're not giving me cash, I don't want to hear it. But now, like I said, it took me a long time to be able to say, man, I understand what my problem was then. My problem now is they don't make enough hours in a day.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Antelope Valley, for watching. We'll be right back.
At Anointing Exposure, we do everything under the sun, from braided updos to weaves with an invisible part. We cater to you. Let our stylist Tina, Thais, Kai, our owner stylist Yvonne do your due with style, sophistication, and care. Monday through Wednesday, we have special prices on weaves, and if you refer 3 friends, you get a free hairdo. Call or come in to find out what's going on with the latest in hair color, cuts, and care. Anointing Exposure is located at 44915 10th Street West in Lancaster, or call us at 661-874-9137.
That's right, it's here, it's new, it's now, the Isaiah Thornton Show, a new way to show worship and praise in the Antelope Valley. It's a talk show unlike any other, touching upon topics and subjects from today's headlines that concern you and your loved ones, with lively guests, praise dancing. So come worship, come praise, and come see all the excitement on the Isaiah Thornton Show. Coming to Time Warner Channel 165, YouTube, and other social media outlets. So stay tuned and watch the Isaiah Thornton Show. Why sit around just watching movies or TV shows when you could be making or starring in them? Get behind or in front of the camera and turn your passion into a profession with the help of the Kavanaugh Entertainment Group and their hands-on programs in digital video, TV, and film productions. They can teach you about this exciting industry. You can acquire skills in production, camera operation, acting on camera, set lighting, video editing, and so much more. For a tour of the studio or to get more information, call or email the Kavanaugh Entertainment Group.
Okay, the final question regarding this topic that I would like to present to the group panel is domestic terrorism in all its nuances, whether it's with domestic violence, spouses fighting one another, whether it's schoolyard bullying, whether it's random acts of violence. Do we see an opportunity for a community to connect with one another to find alternate means to conflict resolve? Or do you see violence is still becoming a more ever-increasing trend? Let's start with Chris.
Steve, you know, I take guys like you and like Actor and get them involved in the whole community, because I don't think the police and the county can solve the problem. I think it's got to be people, that X factor, the faith-based business community. We can affect this region and help to solve the big problem.
So David, you haven't had the opportunity to really give an in-depth opinion on the topic. Considering what we have discussed, do you think violence in community is coming to an end?
Well, no, because from my experience, every time when I go to school, there's always at least a fight. Because from last week alone, about 7 suspensions in one day.
No way.
Yes, and like...
What are they being suspended for?
Because every time there's always drama between like kids, and they always fight for like dumb stuff, and there's always bullying and stuff, and then it just brings a crowd and they all just fight, and it's like, it's not gonna come to an end. Because every week, every day there's something, they always get suspended. They don't stop.
Now that must add a lot of anxiety to when you go to school. You know, because when I think of going to school, I think I'm finna go to learn. I know it's not always the funnest thing, you know, but it's the the necessary thing to do. But for you to have to go to a place of learning with all of that extra excitable atmosphere must be really difficult for a young person.
Well, yeah, yes and no, because it's also like, some people like to see that, because it's like entertaining, but it's also like distracting, because from people that want to learn can't do that because of the violence that's going on in school.
That's it. An Actor, do you think violence domestically in-house, in terms of how domestic terrorism has been defined and expressed at this panel, is coming to an end, yes or no?
Violence is never coming to an end. Only reason for that is everybody has a bad day. If you take 5 minutes and sit back and just one good time, there will never be no violence.
That's heavy.
There's never be no violence. All you gotta do when the situation occurs, regardless of what it is, you're yelling at your girlfriend, you're having a fight with moms over the phone, the dog did something in the yard and you're ready to cuss him and kick him.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you need.
That's what's up. I
That's all
appreciate
you
it.
need.
Barbara?
Well, I think that the people influence it. Like, a lot of people don't have attention at home. It all starts at home, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, people at schools, like he was saying, they go in little groups and encourage it. They get attention to them. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
They put it on social media. They get 1 million likes and
Mm-hmm.
subscribers, and it's on the news over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people need that attention. They don't get it at home. And to them, violence might be the way to get it. But I think that it starts at home. So if we, instead of encouraging it, maybe do the opposite, it might make them feel, you know, maybe this is wrong. It's not right. Violence is not right.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people think it's an attention. They seek attention.
Well, that concludes the segment on domestic terrorism. The overall aim was to bring definition to it outside of the context of the norm. I like to define domestic terrorism as an in-house display of violence as a means to effect change. And I hope that as a community, we can dispel violent reactions by connecting to one another, by understanding one another more. And that takes an approach that's bigger than yourself, to take yourself out the equation, to have the audacity and the courage to understand someone else. Thank you so much, Palmdale. Hello, Antelope Valley. My name is Stephen Davis, and I have a special guest here to give you a little bit of the extra component to the conversation regarding domestic terrorism. One of the things that I am strongly advocating is that our response to the threat of domestic terrorism should be in the context of investing in our democratic process. Today, my guest is Oscar Mejia, candidate for City Council in Lancaster, California.
Thank you for having me, Steve.
My pleasure, my pleasure. I was inspired by your candidacy. I seen it on Facebook. What are some of the platform points regarding your candidacy for City Council?
So they're very specific, and it really aims at making sure that we're able to get everybody in the community and account for everybody in the community. So one of them is taking into account the occurring spike in crime, in property crime as well as personal crime has gone up. We need to understand that. With that, we need to understand that there's a program already in place. In this particular case, it's called LEAPS, which is the aerial platform that's a surveillance. What I like to see is having more sheriffs out on the street being a part of the community, not some entity that just happens to be the community, but actually engaging our young folks and older folks as well.
That is an amazing strategy. One of the things that I realized since I've been here as a resident in Palmdale and in the greater Antelope Valley as a whole is the separation between law enforcement and the community. Law enforcement is not always perceived as a community help. And I believe that that reputation may not be duly deserved. But in order for us to effectively break that barrier, we need integration. We need an officer corps program of some sorts that really is creative in interacting with the community at large, so that they are perceived as a resource beyond simply arresting felons, but to really, really make that effort to connect with the community at large outside of policing, but true community engagement. I think that's a really important feature.
They have a couple different things. One of them is coffee with the deputy, for example, which unfortunately happens to be at a time when we're all at work, and those people that could get out are probably very busy doing errands. So that's a type of outreach that's already out there. Also, keep in mind that the amount of square footage that the sheriff's has to cover in the Lancaster alone, it's huge and it's wide. That's why the proposed LEAPS program. But what I'm saying is exactly what you were referring to is if we have an ability to engage the community, not just engage, but I mean, when was the last time you saw a bicycle peace officer, perhaps, not because there's an event, just because they want to be on their bicycle, going by the Metrolink station over Lancaster and Sierra Highway, around that area, patrolling maybe up and down Yucca Street, that type of engagement, and stopping by, I was like, hey, how are you? You know, how are things going? Is everything pretty good? You gain the community's trust,
Right.
you know, and then they'll be like, excuse me, sir, as a matter of fact, I saw something funny here the other day. Could I, you know, share that with you? But, you know, it's going to take a lot of you know, kind of reshaping the way we think policing should be.
Yes, sir.
They are part of our community just like we are of a part of their lives because they work here. I mean, some of them are here 12 hours a day. I mean, they're pretty much here with us.
Yes, sir.
We are Palmdale.
So that kind of reminds me of back in the day, how police officers would actually walk the beat.
Yeah, you know, let's make sure we give credit to our peace officers because they definitely have a tough job nowadays with what's going on around the world and everything that's happening. So it's definitely a tough job. Let's not take that away from them. But I think the community can really be involved, especially when these law enforcements come out to the neighborhoods and speak one-on-one. Just say, how are you? How's your morning? I remember back in the day, it didn't have to be a special event to have the peace officer walk around the neighborhood. They just happen to be either, in my particular area anyways, they have to either be on a bike, they have to be the patrol car, to probably park it, and then just take a little walk, see how things are going. Because the community itself also needs to be able to police itself. And really work together that way. I know there's some barriers trying to be broken, you know,
Right.
You know, but the progress could be a little better, a little faster, and that's why we need fresh ideas.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. One of the things that I take note to, I do acknowledge that there are some issues in regards to public safety's response to community issues. That goes without saying. But at the same time, I am aware that police officers' daily response are to issues that we can't control. You don't call 911 for something you can manage. You don't call 911 for something someone else that is accessible to you can manage. You call 911 when you are going through something or something is happening that is beyond your ability to manage. And that's crisis. But these officers, that crisis, that level of management is their normal. Understanding at the same time that an officer's daily function is managing crises that are the most horrendous, the most complicated and distressing. And they're human beings.
Yes.
And their task is an honorable one because they assist in things that we are not capable of managing. And that's something that I think community at large should appreciate and acknowledge. We all see the issues in terms of the things and the elements that could have some improvement. But at the same time, let's not make evil a really awesome resource.
I agree with you. Now, we got to keep in mind that the peace officer, like you said, really does have high stress, very difficult job, dangers around the corner, and the thing you think of is, you know, I want to get back home to my family. And there is definitely no taking away from that. So they walk this very fine line between whatever for example, in our case, the Los Angeles Los Angeles Sheriff's Department policies are and what they're doing. And so they have that narrow gap between, okay, community, be friendly, be forthcoming, versus what the policy is and keeping them safe. Sometimes the thing is, if you get too friendly, you might put your guard down, so you always kind of have this, you know, maybe an arm's length or whatever.
Right.
But the biggest thing we could definitely do is educate our community and have our community be involved just as much as they need to be involved with us as well.
Yes, sir.
Without compromising the law enforcement's life, as well as our community members' life.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. One of the things we had discussed earlier on in our group panel was domestic terrorism. In context to is violence becoming the new means to affect change? And there was some colorful responses to it. But what I really wanted to connect to you about is knowing that terrorism's ultimate aim is to create terror, to disrupt the democratic process, and to discourage people from investing in that ideal.
No doubt about it. America stands for something. You know, when you see the flag, you don't just see something. You see a symbol. It stands for something. The Statue of Liberty stands for something. We cannot compromise our core, what we stand for, our values, pursuit of happiness, justice for all, and our pledge of allegiance to the flag. Period. We can't compromise that. It is a beacon of hope. It is what brought me to here, this country, when terrorism is not, domestic terrorism is not a new concept. It's not something new. It's just, it's starting to hit us here in America a lot harder than we've ever expected. It's happened before from other groups within, you know, here, not necessarily associated with what's going on now, but it's nothing new. You cannot compromise your democratic values. That's just, you cannot.
I would like to end with a quick question to you. Nothing to elaborate, but something that is really important, I believe, for the community to be aware of. Oscar Mayer, why are you running for City Council in Lancaster?
First, Steve, thank you for having me here, and it's definitely been a pleasure to talk some of these topics that really hit at the core of our foundation as a nation, but most importantly as people and how we see ourselves in the world. The reason I run is because I feel and I see that there's something needs to be done, not only about the representation, about the 80% that doesn't come out and vote, but the fact that there's already a status quo when it comes to entering, we'll call it politics, because by no means am I a politician. I'm a full-time dad, a full-time employee. I work at NASA, I put myself through school. But the bottom line is there's a service to the community that needs to be done, and the way I feel I can do it is by serving the City Council and making sure that the resources that are available are hitting every sector of the community. If you take the city as an entire pie, we're probably only at one piece. But if you have the representation of the entire city as a whole, you could go ahead and affect the entire pie, or you could see the entire pie, you could see the entire city for what it is. And again, Steve, I really thank you for having me on your show today.
Yes, sir. Well, I appreciate you again, man, and I am thoroughly confident that your message, your platform, and your candidacy will truly inspire our community.
Thank you.
Well, I thank you all Greater Antelope Valley residents for watching this segment speaking on domestic terrorism. I want to say thank you for all of my special guests. Your contribution added weight and validity to this discussion. And from the heart, it is awesome, and I really appreciate that. Remember, this is an open forum discussion. An open forum discussion. The aim is to give voice to community regarding relevant topics here in the Antelope Valley. We would love to get your input. Email me at wearepalmdaledistrict1@gmail.com. We would love to get your input and your topic suggestions that we can input. And don't forget, you too can be a group panelist and a member host on our future productions. So just email me. This is going to be weekly. Look for us on Time Warner, channel 13.10, and on YouTube. Palmdale Presents would be that channel description. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys have a wonderful time enjoying the show. Don't forget to stay tuned to Time Warner, channel 1310. Look for us on that local programming station. Have a wonderful time.